Welcome back to another Wednesday episode of the Cousin Cecil Show, which you know what that means. I am here with another comic book creator, and I was fortunate enough to actually have basically like half the team of this brand new book coming out of Mad Cave Studios out in for New Comic Book Day. The first issue is going to be one of the free comic books from Mad Cave this year, coming out in August. But I have the writer Ivy Noelle Weir. Mm-hmm. And also I have the artist, Kelly Williamson. How are you two doing today?
Good.
Good.
No, and then I know it's more behind the veil stuff for the listeners. As we were doing you guys had a pretty busy day with obviously Mad Cave is also doing their own little showcase today and stuff. How was that going for you guys today?
It was good. It was fun. This is the second Twitch thing that I've done for them, that both of us have done for them, actually, which is twice as many Twitch things as I've ever done in my life before now.
I'm pretty confident I remember seeing, you were also on the Among Us thing?
Yeah.
Kelly?
Yeah. I was the one that didn't have a clue what I was doing.
But that was where the meeting of the minds of video games and comic book creators going into, let's play Among Us. That sounds great when you don't even know part of the game.
I had a knowledge of what it was and what the idea was, but I even had it on like the Switch and stuff, but I never played it. So it was a great way to, I guess, learn how to play it.
You guys, did you play it before then too? Like, Ivy, do you like the Among Us? Ever played it?
I played it a couple times with friends, so I knew kind of what I was doing, but I told them, I was like, I have one tactic, and it's to act like I don't know what I'm doing, which is only like 20% a lie anyway, and it works exactly one time. And then after that, I get found out if I'm the imposter, like, instantly.
Right.
I don't know if we ever talked about it or not, but I do like that. I think it was in the last round or whatever where you were the killer, and we ended up crossing paths in the same room, and just nothing. So I liked the team spirit of it all.
Yeah, I can't take you out, Kelly.
You were her scapegoat, so that you just be their person to agree. I believe that she's not the killer. Totally.
I mean, I think I was the killer like twice before that, so it wouldn't have been a stretch, probably.
No, but then also, I guess that's also a good segue to especially Bountiful Garden about it sometimes being on a spaceship. Mm-hmm. And also there's a possible killing happening and stuff, but I guess we'll go with Ivy. Why don't you, before we get into it, give us an elevator pitch of what Bountiful Garden is and it's coming out.
So Bountiful Garden follows the crew of the Jemison, who are teenage scientists who are kind of raised to be the very best in their various fields and sent on these terraforming missions. However, they get out into space and they are put into cryosleep. They awaken 10 years early when their ship is mysteriously stopped. And they have to kind of split up. Half stays on the ship to find out how to get it going again. And the other half goes down to explore the planet they're stalled over and find out what stopped them. So it's your classic scientists in peril, with kind of a twist that they are young and sort of out of their element.
Yes, no, and more because I was fortunate enough to be able to at least read the free comic book day version. If there is a difference, I'm not sure if there is from issue 1 to that, but no, it's really good. And also, Mad Cave is also very good at doing these trailers for their social medias. So it was very enjoyable. I'm like, ooh, this gave me the video games like a Dead Space, Event Horizon like vibes to it.
Totally.
But more questions, because this will also lead me into the next part. We're going to do some background talks for both of you. Mm-hmm. Who has been in comic books the longest out of you two?
Certainly Kelly, right?
No. Okay.
Probably. I mean, I'm older.
No, the reason I'm saying that is so that I can, how I'm juggling having two guests on. So I'm just going to say, we'll go
Sure.
with Kelly and ask, have you do a little bit of background. What got you into comic books?
Me?
Yes, Kelly.
Oh, geez, I don't know. Like I, started reading comics when I was a little kid, real little kid. I don't even really remember the first thing I got. I mean, it was probably like Batman or Daredevil or something, just at the grocery store. But I think it was probably like when I got a hold of a copy of like Swamp Thing #1.
Yeah.
Like that's when I think that's like when I fell in love with comics, and I quickly like branched off, and like X-Men was like my thing for a long time, but I basically just fell in love with the idea of like it was the first time I had put together that there was people that made these things, and so Bernie Wrightson was like a huge impact on me as a kid, and further on. But yeah, I mean, I think I got into comics the same way most people did. I just found them at a store one day.
I do glad that you give the listeners a very good analogy. It definitely shows your age when you said comic books in a grocery store. So that's definitely some red flags for listeners. But I've been also with other conversations I've had with other creators. And since you're the artist side of the comic book thing, you kind of have not directly speaking for you, but there's definitely a line of path that you guys go to. Like, yeah, I like to draw. Comic books obviously are all about art. So it kind of leans towards that. I'm more curious than to hear if Ivy has comic books ever been like was it the main goal when you started out writing? I'm assuming.
So I grew up reading comics too. My mom is an artist, and she made her own comics and zines and was pretty active in the Philly scene, which is where I'm from. And so she raised me reading like Love and Rockets and Swamp Thing and
Nice.
just all kinds of like all over the board. Some stuff that was definitely not appropriate for like a 5 or 6-year-old, but so, and then X-Men was like the love of my life all through high school. And so I really like when I was a teenager, I wanted to write. I wanted to be a writer, and I believe that I actually at one point sent Marvel like an unsolicited X-Men script when I was like 16 with like that teenage bravado of like, of course you want to see this. So it was always a goal. And then I actually went to school for art in New York, and I got really into doing prose writing and art criticism. And so comics kind of fell back, and I came back to comics at a point in my life when actually I was so burnt out from being in the New York art world that I was just like, I need to like get back in touch with what made me like art, made me like writing. And so I got back into the comic book world, and that's how I started working in a comic book store. That's how I met my friend and often collaborator Steens, who's also the editor on Bountiful Garden, which is great. And we did our graphic novel together, Archival Quality, and that kind of put me on this path to keep writing comics, which was awesome. And it was nice to kind of see things come full circle from when I was a teenager.
No, that's awesome. And I do love that both of you have passed the test. I've noticed you're a true comic book fan when you say Swamp Thing. I've noticed everyone and their uncle will go, what's your favorite comic book? And if they're in the comic book realm, they're like Swamp Thing. I'm like, okay, there you go. And then I'm more
powerful thing when it came out.
Yeah. Also, then we'll get into Bountiful Garden, and then Kelly. What were how I guess you guys would you guys mind how to describe how does it work with basically guys collaborating with the script? Like you obviously bring up the ideas, and obviously as an artist, because that's one thing that I do like to talk about with these interviews is like I'm trying to understand like how is it easy? Is it difficult to kind of get the same idea on paper from the the script or the plans? You know what I'm saying? So how was Bountiful Garden set up with like when you met Ivy, started working together?
Well, I'm speaking for myself here.
Yeah.
This was a different experience for me in that, like, Mad Cave came to me and asked if I'd be interested in it. And at the time, like, they didn't have a writer yet. And so it was like, we want to do this. We'll let you know when we find somebody to do it. And so it was like this weird thing where it wasn't like Ivy came to me and said, "Hey, I got this idea."
Yeah.
It was the publisher that came and said, "We got this idea." And so it's not how I was used to starting, developing something or whatever. Because usually it's a more personal kind of thing, I guess.
Yeah.
At least in my experience. But
I did forget to ask, because I forgot to ask, is Bountiful Garden, so it sounds like Mad Cave came to both of you with the idea. So it's like a work for hire idea. Like, do you have an idea?
Yeah, totally.
Pick up the pieces that are the all-stars for the whole setup. I get it.
They gave us like a really baseline elevator pitch kind of thing for it. And which basically just kind of gives you the point A, point B kind of idea of what it is they're wanting to happen. But it was totally on us to put it together, come up with how it happens. There wasn't much there before like Ivy came up. So like in that respect, like once we got past that initial how it all got started thing, it was a lot more like a normal collaborative thing where she would, write it, I would get it, and it wasn't hard. It was an easy thing to get into because who doesn't love a good sci-fi horror story, And,
of course.
We were all coming at it from, I think, essentially the same direction. Like we were all thinking of the same things. And in fact, like I'd like to mention Event Horizon, just because that was something I thought about a lot, like in the beginning, especially. But she, I don't know. She did a great job with it, and it was easy to just kind of take it and put it down on paper, I guess. And there were moments where it was a little more, I guess, collaborative in the idea of bouncing ideas back and forth, little things here and there. But for the most part, it was really smooth and easy to make happen.
Okay, and then also more than curious for than Ivy's side, because you said Mad Cave had the idea. How much wiggle room was it to become Ivy's Bountiful Garden over, Mad Cave's? Because I'm assuming, of course, they have. Here's part A, like you said, and we're gonna take you all the way to part Z. But obviously, Ivy can take us all the way to for the whole alphabet of volumes if they wanted. You know what I'm saying?
So it was actually not even that detailed. It was basically like, we want there to be a space crew and they are kids/teens. Even that was kind of left up to me, like how old they were. And then they're young and something stops their spaceship. And that was basically the pitch. So it didn't even really have like here's the point B that we want you to get to. It was just like, here's A.
That's true. Yeah, it was very, very baseline. It was
very, very high level.
So you came up with the garden part.
So I knew that they had like a title, and it was Bountiful Garden. And so I think there was like an expectation that there would be something that would relate to it, but it was kind of vague, because that could be a lot of things. And I really love botanical horror. I really love like earthy, small things.
Yeah,
So it was, I decided to take it in a very literal sense and be like, okay, well, it's bad plants. It's this organic, like floral, Jeff Vandermeer kind of horror.
No, because I was going to say that because I thought it was interesting without knowing the whole, pitch. And then I was like, okay, she's doing Bountiful Garden. She also, Ivy has a Secret Garden book coming out. I'm like, does she have a love-hate about plants?
It just like lined up really coincidentally. So I had finished Secret Garden right when they approached me for Bountiful Garden, and originally they were supposed to have the same pub date, and I was like, "Ooh, this is really confusing to promote." So one of them changed, thankfully, but it was definitely people keep making jokes like, "Do Garden of the Day,"
No, and then what's how many comics are coming out for the first volume of Bountiful Garden? 5? Is it 6?
5 issues. And I believe that unless there's, anything further from Mad Cave, that's the whole story as it stands.
Hey, Mad Cave has been doing some hits because as you see, like Nottingham just got the announcement of volume 2. So obviously, I'm already a big fan of issue 1, and I'm not. I really want to make sure, even listeners and even also present it to you guys, as a person who got it early, I don't try to make that be like, oh, I like it more because I got it for free or early. I really enjoyed even the pacing of the first issue. I really enjoy your art of the whole space crew, and also like it is really good all around. Even down the road, right before we leave, we're gonna obviously say kudos to the letterer and also the colors and all that fun jazz. But also just more curious of because you said Event Horizon, but Kelly, if you were put onto a cryo sleep and on a space cruise, what would be one junk food from Earth that you would want to be on your space cruise for yourself when you wake up? You know what I mean?
And as I'm terrible person to ask this because I think all I eat is junk. I'm diabetic too, so maybe I should take that into consideration. I don't know, but we'll pretend that if I'm in cryo sleep, they must have fixed diabetes.
They have an insulin pump on you too.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. Cookies. I am fucking nuts for cookies.
What's the best cookie? What's your best? What's the best flavor cookie?
Well, I'm good on the classics. I like chocolate chip cookies. I like Oreos too. So either or.
You can't
mixture of both. Maybe crunch them up and cook them all together.
I was slowly judging. I was going to say if you didn't say Oreo, because at least Oreos are probably the number one store cookie. Then obviously anybody can make a.
I'm a sucker for like if I go grocery shopping and there's a new one of the flavor. I almost always will say, well, I have to, at least do it once. Right? I love the carrot cake ones.
I haven't had the carrot cake ones. The last one that I enjoyed that are like, wow, this is a good flavor is like a caramel coconut one.
Yeah, that one's good. It's good. I'm all excited.
We have the s'mores ones in our pantry right now. They're like pretty solid. 8 out of 10.
I haven't tried those. I keep looking at it. I usually talk myself down from them because, like, is there actually marshmallow in it?
It's like marshmallow adjacent stuff, like the Oreo cream, but
right. I tend to avoid marshmallows because I'm vegetarian. But But I'm also kind of wishy-washy about it. If I really want that thing that has the marshmallows, I might give in. So I figure it's only a matter of time before I have those cookies.
Okay. I'm sorry. This is more the idea of like we had a good old cookie debate for cryogenic sleeping. But no, and also while we're with you, Kelly, I like to ask this too. without obviously spoiling, what was your favorite issue to draw? What was your favorite issue of this series to draw?
I don't know. Like, I swear every issue has something in it that I was like pretty like excited about or real into. I don't know, man. Maybe the last issue.
I ain't gonna lie, that is a big thing with artists. I've heard they like the last issue is always a big.
I think I see the last issue because of all of them. I like the cover I did for the last issue the most.
I'm looking forward to seeing it.
So maybe that's why. But no, there's a lot of really good moments in it. A lot of good moments that were just fun to draw and fun to come up with. The design and what it is and everything.
With only because of I'm obviously, no offense, I'm a little foggy on your background. Like, is this like your first time into this like more psychological horror? Because I know as the first issue, without spoiling it, there are some like dreams that made the kids are getting from the the garden and stuff. So is this like more a new genre for you, or is this kind of like your bread and butter, this horror-esque style?
For me?
Yes.
No, yeah, this horror is kind of my bag. I've done more horror than most other stuff at this point.
Oh, okay. I was curious because also it's okay because we've already heard Ivy's background of like that. What are some of your previous books that so people can look you up too?
I don't know, man. There's a bunch of stuff. Well, like I contributed to Eerie at one of my first, I guess, pro gigs was I drew a story that Justin Jordan wrote for Eerie when Dark Horse was doing it. I've done some graphic novels. I did my first graphic novel was The Cabinet, which is a historical fiction horror that's with Christian Sager wrote that. I've done tons and tons of like anthologies and single issue type stuff. Most recently, just to not drag this on, I just had a horror short come out with TKO called River of Sin.
Okay.
And then aside from that, I do a series of short horror stories called The Dark, or it's all under the Dark umbrella. But yeah, I kind of just do those when I can, and I sometimes work with other writers. Sometimes I just write them. But yeah, I get around.
No, that's good. I love to hear that because obviously, one little thing I do, because obviously at the end we'll break you down, do little shout outs, and of course on all my description I put big old list of like where we can find you guys and all that stuff. But also we'll go back to that Bountiful Garden question for Ivy. What was your favorite issue to write?
So I turned in all the scripts in like December 2020. So delineating which issue actually and what happens in. But I think in issue 4, there's sort of a, without spoiling it, a kind of a hallway fight moment with one of the characters and a mystery non-spoiler thing. And so as I was writing the book, so I wrote the first script, and when I saw Kelly's pencils come in, I went, oh, I need to write way less dialogue and just let him like draw and like take up room, because I just was like so enamored with the way it was treated and just the world building through the art. Yeah. So that scene I really love because I feel like it's not got a lot of dialogue, and it kind of borrows from like a lot of like cinema that I really loved, and then just the way that Kelly envisioned it, I was just like, oh yes, amazing. So I just feel like that to me was one of like the strongest points in the series.
That just because now that you mentioned that, it made me remember something from that issue that might have actually made it my favorite issue to draw, actually, now that I think about it.
No, that's good because that gets me excited about it. Like all right, here's the one that they really enjoyed, and also
She's right. This book's been done for a while now, so trying to remember and split it all up is kind of foggy.
Yeah, I don't know because I've noticed I'm still learning on like the process of like when stuff gets done, and also when they start publishing it because of I know Mad Cave probably has a lot more cards under their sleeve without us knowing. Like and how today was the showcase, and probably like bam, here's some more stuff that you didn't even guys even know was coming out yet. But yeah. Also, I guess what are because we said Event Horizon. Is there any other genre or not genres, other types of like movies or games that were inspiration for Bountiful Garden, for maybe even from the artistic side to the even writing side of it?
So for me, when I started working on it and I got the treatment, I really wanted to kind of look at like classic sort of pulp sci-fi. So I went back and I read a lot of like Weird Tales and Asimov's era kind of short fiction. There's a really great story collection of cosmic horror called Shadows of Carcosa that I went back and reread a lot of, which is sort of mythos and cosmic horror. And the biggest inspiration for a lot of the world building I did is actually a Ray Bradbury short story called The Long Rain, which is a sort of scientists in peril story that takes place on Venus that has a very psychological angle. And a lot of the writing was sort of a love letter to that era of sci-fi. But then also, as I started to see the art and the colors come in, I started thinking also like, okay, well, let's think Cronenberg. Let's, think about like The Thing and Alien and, bring in some of that sort of kind of 80s flavor as well. So I think that both were it was a nice sort of mix of really old sci-fi and then kind of what we think of as more like modern classic sci-fi.
Yeah. How about for you, Kelly? Was there anything that was more inspiration that we haven't discussed? Like, because we always said Event Horizon.
Right. Well, I mean, a lot of the obvious stuff, like, I tend to gravitate towards dirtier, bulkier, like sci-fi stuff. So, when I was kind of pulling together an idea of what I wanted to kind of pull from, like stuff like the Alien movies, especially the first two, and different aspects of Star Wars. I mean, because of course, and Dead Space actually came into that a lot. And
I was making sure somebody said it. Good.
Right. Right. And I think those were really like the three main like visual aspect type things I pulled from. And I don't know if I thought about it while we were working on it or whatever, but like the whole Ivy kind of pulling from the kind of pulpier sci-fi stuff, like I think so much of that comes through in the character interactions and just the way the characters themselves act. Like so much of that pulpier stuff kind of feels like it comes through, and like I see it a little more clear now that you say it, I guess. But yeah, I think those are like my main influences on it. Like when it came to the planet, even though like I was trying not to, I kept coming back to aliens and just the way the planet looked. So like I think it's not hard to see a lot of that in there.
Oh yes, you'll definitely see that Ridley Scott-esque feeling of like how he decides of like how structures are created, but also you put your own flavor to it, which is really good too. And then also just more curious because as I see a timer coming up, how about Ivy? Would you like to give the people how about two art writers that are not comic book people that some people should go check out? Like give them like people props that are not in the comic book spectrum that give you inspiration as well?
Let me think. So, I mean, it's like, it feels really like, of course, people know about Ray Bradbury. So I feel like being like, go read some Ray Bradbury. This is a cool indie author. The biggest inspirations on this were really, pretty old school. Harlan Ellison was another big one. Le Guin was another, Ursula K. Le Guin, who's been my hero since I was pretty young.
Again, it doesn't have to be about Bountiful Garden. This could be what inspires Ivy, because I know that you do put the keyword librarian in your description on Twitter.
That's what I do. That's my day job. So right now I think that my favorite current living author is this author named Helen Oyeyemi. She does just unbelievably interesting magical realism that often borders kind of on horror. I think in a way where I would sometimes qualify her work as horror, but because it's literary, of course, people don't want to call it horror. But she has a book called White is for Witching, which I think is one of the best haunted house books I've ever read. It's just like incredible. And so I recommend it to people all the time that they check out White is for Witching.
White is for Witching. I'll probably check it out too. No, for real.
She's incredible. Her work is so interesting. She has a lot of fairy tale kind of inspired work, a lot that draws from Yoruba mythology, just really fascinating stuff. And then I just read something that I really loved. And of course, now I'm completely, blanking out on what it was. Just before I hopped on the call with you, actually, I finished, this is a comic, but I finally finished reading The Magic Fish by Chung Nguyen. And that was just, speaking of fairy tales, just like absolutely beautiful, like really heart-wrenching, just one of the best books I've read this year. So I'm glad I finally got to finish it.
There you go. And then Kelly, how about you? Can you give us two artists that are not like straight up comic book artists that give you inspiration? Don't have to be about Bountiful Garden, but obviously what makes Kelly inspired to start drawing that day?
I don't have anybody.
Oh,
I'm kidding. I'm kind of kidding. I don't know, man. I'm also terrible with names. Like I tend to just forget people's names, and if it's not right in front of me. But Ralph Steadman's always been a big one for me. That like just in terms of being outside of the comic book realm, and I think I went through a whole period where like I was like, I am gonna do work like Ralph Steadman, which was a terrible idea. But I don't know. I really like. I don't know. I play a lot of video games.
Yeah.
So,
what's your favorite video game of this year?
Oh, well, I play a lot of video games. So
you're talking to a person with on Mondays. It's the video game podcast. So go fire away.
Oh, gotcha. I don't know. Like I just finished the new Ratchet and Clank, which was super good, and I'm playing. Oh my god!
Is it on the PS5?
Well, it's on everything. My god. I keep wanting to say Crimson, but it's not. Scarlet.
Oh, Scarlet Nexus.
Yeah, playing that, and that's a good example of why I would bring up video games, just because like it's one of those. It's got like the I don't know. Is language okay? I don't.
Yeah.
It's got like the batshit crazy like
anime shit. Yeah, we got it.
Character designs, like monsters and stuff. Like we can love that stuff. So and it absolutely qualifies as batshit crazy. So like I love stuff like that, and my game's pretty fun too.
No, I agree too with that because I haven't got to play that one yet, but I was more for a leeway around. If you haven't played it, you should play that Returnal since that's a nice space age little shooter going on too. But
I love Returnal. I will probably never get further than the second boss, but I do love that game, and it's got some fantastic design in it. Like especially, like I love those things. Like when you get to the second like biome or whatever,
Yeah.
they're like basically they're just like big squares with tentacles. Like those things are great just because it's such a simple design, but it's so like what the why like
more goes into why not, but
right yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, and probably leave out more. Thank you guys for coming on. For everyone who listens, Bountiful Garden comes out for Free Comic Book Day the first Saturday of August, I believe.
I should know when Free
Yeah,
Comic Book Day is.
I think it's the first because
I know it's in August.
They switched it up. Free Comic Book Day is usually in another month, but
Saturday in May.
It's usually May, right? It's usually the
first Saturday of May.
First Saturday of May, right? Yeah, so.
But Ivy, would you mind at least giving the letterer and the other parts of the team a little shout out for Bountiful Garden before we close, and then we'll head out.
Yeah. So Bountiful Garden, written by me, drawn by Kelly, colored by Giorgio Spalletta, who did an incredible job working with Kelly's inks, and lettered by Justin Birch, who I feel really brought my script to life in sometimes teaser a literal way. And it was edited by Steens, who I feel like every time we talk about collaborating on this book, I need to like give a shout out so that her ears are burning somewhere, because she did an incredible job editing and managing this team, and is really a huge part of why it was so smooth for all of us to work together.
Yeah, and then also guess real fire away. Where the people can find you on social media for both of you, like back and forth. So go ahead, Ivy, then Kelly.
So I'm on pretty much every platform at Ivy Noelle, IvyNoelle. I think they have a weird name, so my screen name is usually available. And I'm at ivynoelleweir.com also.
Where can we find you, Kelly?
I am also on the social medias, largely as at Treebeard. That's Beard, BEERD, not EA. And Instagram, it's the same thing, just put a Y at the end of it. And I tend to forget I have a website with stuff on it, which is treebeardstuff.com. Yeah.
And then
real quick though, if I could, I just want to put a little extra like shout out for Giorgio on the colors.
There you go.
Because I don't normally work with colorists. I do a lot of my own coloring. I usually paint a lot of the stuff that I do in comics, so it was kind of a relatively new experience. It hasn't went well for me in the past, and it went really well, and Giorgio did a fantastic job.
Awesome. And hey, just more, don't freak out. Don't swerve the bus over the cliff. Long story short, you try and be a podcaster and you want to do some shit over Zoom, make sure you buy the premium Zoom package so you can have more than one person on, so you don't look like an embarrassment to yourself. But no, the Zoom meeting just kind of abruptly happened or stopped because of obviously when you're on the free membership, you only get a 40-minute window. And just, hey, that's how the world works. I would just more want to touch base, of course, obviously end the show. But thank you to Kelly Williamson and, of course, Ivy Noelle for coming on the show. It means a lot. Obviously, I'm a little embarrassed to myself about, timing with the thing, but I digress. more touch base. Like we said on the show, Bountiful Garden from Mad Cave Studios. The free comic book version. So if you want to get issue 1 for free, go to your local comic book shop on Free Comic Book Day, which is going to be, I'm pretty confident it's the first weekend of August. So it's coming up around the bend. And get into it. Easy way to enter, low cost entry level to get into issue 1. So you can then go, hey, comic book store, I'm right here. Will you pre-order issue 2, 3, 4, and 5? And who knows, maybe you want issue 1 since of how collectors work. You have time to pick up the actual issues. Again, like I keep on trying to say, it's really good. And it has a really good, the first issue leaves you wanting more. And that's great to have for a first issue. And I think it's crazy to have these authors be able to come to a thing and like a studio has a idea and they let them mold it and then they're able to create that. It's crazy. Like Ivy does it. Jay Sandlin does it. It's just very amazing to have these people out there getting their credit where credit's due now because of these not big time but small time, you know, these they're kind of like double A comic books publishers. And but yeah, just more thank you. Of course, read the description of the show. You can see where they all were saying to go follow them. They are really cool people and all that fun jazz. And of course, follow me at MikeFowler93. Of course, tell a friend about the Cousin Cecil show. I'm trying. And obviously, yeah, this is the first interview since vacation, so it's a little rocky, but hey, we did it. Like we always say every week, be good to each other, and I'll catch you next week. Peace.